everyone, it's Natalie Bencavanga, and welcome to another edition of Facts Over Fear. Guys, we've got a lot to cover today because every time I think, okay, there's a lull in the action, something else happens. And it's Women's History Month. We've got a little theme going on today. It's called Make It Make Sense. Well, double entendre, double meaning with the whole sense thing. First, we know that Pennsylvania is celebrating Women's History Month the best way it knows how by still refusing to raise the minimum wage. And we are seeing the pay gap just get wider and wider. Nothing really says we value women like paying them less and then calling it tradition. And then because the chaos doesn't stop there, here in Pennsylvania, we've got Senator John Fetterman doing the most, but for the wrong side of the aisle. On the one hand, he's out here saying that TSA workers deserve to be paid, which is true. But on the other, he's helping to confirm Mark Wayne Mullen. Yes, that Mark Wayne Mullen, who is going to be taking over for Kristi Noem in a key role overseeing Homeland Security. So now voters are looking at 2028 like, what is actually going on, and should someone primary him? So lots of questions, lots of things to talk about. Accountability, consistency. I mean, we're going to cover it all. Joining me today, of course, is one of my absolute favorite Pittsburghers and just people in general, Marita Garrett. She is the founder and president and CEO of Civically Inc. Marita, thank you so much for being here.
Natalie, it's always a pleasure. Girl, we got this women's History Month. Let's get into it.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So right now, I read this article today. Okay, this was actually kind of funny because for people that don't know, every one of the people that I interview does like this pre-production form. And Marita had filled it out. And I went to look at your form this morning, but I had been working on the questions. And so I was like, we should talk about the pay gap. And then I see on your questionnaire you had filled out for your pronouns, it was pay me. And I was like, as if we weren't already connected. Our brains were just in sync. So yes, we're going to get right into it. The gender pay gap isn't just sticking around, you guys. It's gotten worse. And it's been getting worse basically since COVID, in particular with Black women and other women of color. New analysis showed that women are now earning 18.6% less on average than men. And of course, we know that gap is wider for women of color. So the question is not just why is this happening? It's why aren't leaders doing anything about it? Why is it that women's labor has always historically gone unpaid? I was reading about if mothers got paid for the amount of unpaid labor that they do, it's in the hundreds of billions of dollars each year to sustain and protect life that, of course, everyone claims that they care about. Marita, when you think of the pay gap here, what are some first thoughts? Just start there.
Immediately, there's a quote. I know, like Natalie, there's a quote beat by Selena Myers, played by we love Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Mm-hmm.
But she said to someone, she's like, America fundamentally hates women. And when you stated those facts and figures, and even, I read something a couple of weeks ago in the Economic Policy Institute, where especially with Black women and all those federal layoffs that DOJ had done last year and have continued, really have impacted so many people, but especially Black women. And, I see that even just on a very ground level with seeing, some of peers in my network and everything, where they are now a victim of the layoffs and this, that, and the other. And to your point, again, pay me, that's my favorite pronoun. But to that point, the kids and families that people claim that they love, then we're running multi-million-dollar corporations by keeping the kids alive, having the kids, sending them to school, making sure they're okay, all of those things. But that's just seen as what we do. So we really, at this point, really need to, and leaders need to, one, either just come out and say, I don't support women's rights, because it's not enough to get up and do speeches and, all of these long form things. Like, I'm sorry, Senator Chuck Schumer, we are beyond that point. No one, that's not effective. So
Yeah.
what are we doing? What are we actually doing? And who's real for this? Because there's been no movement. If anything, like you said, we keep decreasing. We
Yeah.
keep decreasing. Every women's pay gap day that comes around annually, I feel like we're falling lower and lower
Mhm.
and lower.
Mhm. To your point, the pay gap, I was looking off camera if you see me, it's just because 'cause I'm reading some notes as you're talking, and the findings were published ahead of the Equal Pay Day, which this year is on March 26th. This is a symbolic date marking how far into the year women in 2026 would have to work on top of their 2025 hours to match what men earn. But interestingly enough, of course, March 26th is not for all women. If we're talking Black women, Hispanic women, Indigenous women, those days move even further in through the year. So we're talking 6 months on top of, you're talking about 18 months then, or 20 months. So in some
Yeah.
cases, almost a full year behind another year. So this is not hyperbole. I mean, this is our livelihoods and our lives. And I wanted to touch on a couple of actual policies that are happening here in Pennsylvania because I wanted to get your thoughts, having been a former mayor and understanding how hard it is to get anything actually accomplished when you're in these positions, right? So the minimum wage here in Pennsylvania has been stuck at 7.25 since 2009. And the only reason it was even raised from 7.15 to 7.25, that whole 10 cents, was because of a federal mandate, right? The Democrats have continued. They've tried and they've tried and they've tried. And I think this is the fourth or the fifth attempt. It's just gone through the House. It's actually seems to have made it through the House this round to try to get it to a whopping $15 an hour. And I'm saying that facetiously by 2030, because let's be real, Marita, $15 an hour?
For
Who's living
whom?
on that?
Where? Who's living on that? Gas is like one third of that. You
Ooh,
know, you can't go down the street without like sticker shocks. Like, let's be real. And that's just what I want. Like, let's be real. That $15, yeah, in 2009, that would have been great. I'll take you to Obama era. That may have been something.
sure.
Right now, it is nothing and it shows. It truly shows. So if we're still fighting for $15, that isn't even gonna take effect right now, because even right now, $15 an hour is not much.
Yeah,
But let alone you're still talking about 3, 4 years from now? Where are we gonna be? Like, what is being done right now?
that's
Right
right.
now. And there's things that the former mayor, Michael Tubbs of Stockton,
Mhm.
when he was mayor, I loved what he was doing because he had a basic income policy where it was a select, you have to put a footnote, go back and fact check, but I'm just gonna
Mhm.
say maybe about like 500 or 600 families in Stockton got an extra $1,000 a month. And, you
Mm.
know, sometimes people hear $1,000 a month, "Oh, that's not life-changing money." Well, it is. That's an
It is.
emergency savings fund. And so they found that about like 80% or more of those families were able to one save, were not did not go in further debt because now they had extra money coming in to cover those
Mhm.
emergency or unexpected expenses. So there's so many other things that can be done instead of just passing said legislation. Like, we need to utilize all of the cogs in our wheel. So, yes, continue to fight for 15, even though I've been fighting for that since 2009. But let's get innovative while, again, reading the room of what is actually going on to provide folks immediate relief. And I understand, and that's the beauty that I've worked both sides, being a former mayor
Mhm.
and now being a nonprofit leader. Then, you know, there's some things that government just can't do. Like, everything's going to have its own checks and balances, and that's what's needed. Understood. Yet, then support organizations that are your nonprofit, your direct
Mhm.
services, your community who can stand in the gap. Actually, I'm sorry, have been standing in the gap, especially since we all faced so many cuts last year in
Yeah.
2025. But let's get creative and let's not get too excited that we're passing. I'm sorry, it hasn't passed, but trying to pass a $15 minimum wage act when the cost of living has only exponentially
Mm.
increased since the last minimum wage increase.
I also just want to add, because I agree with everything you said. And guys, just take this in real quick. $113,000 is now the new salary of our representatives in Pennsylvania in the state house. And you know why? Because they're giving themselves a cost of living increase every year. That just passed. So the idea that that is a thing for them, but then the rest of us are getting crumbs, it's not a good look. And I also love, because this is the elder millennial in us both, we have jumped from trying to fix the minimum wage, and now we're like universal basic income. Like, let's just call it what it is. Like that extra money to keep people in their homes so they can afford their bills, so they can get their kids' teeth fixed, like the basics.
Yes.
Like, we're just all over it. I mean,
yes, been there, right?
Listen,
it
we're
is.
not even, we're just like minimum wage, like UBI, okay? Like,
yeah, right.
And I mean, we're not even factoring in the AI boom, right? What happens when these jobs aren't here? That's the other thing, right, Marita? It's like we're dealing with stuff coming at us from all angles.
Angles.
And there's just very little solutions, a lot of hand wringing. I think we should just be put in charge. That's really my answer.
This is what we've been saying. This is what we've been saying, because we would figure it out.
It's been figured out. Give Marita and I a pot of coffee, a spreadsheet, and 24 hours locked in a room together. We're fixing it all. Like, we're coming out refreshed and ready. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like clipboard in hand. That's all. It's a done
deal. Pay us.
Pay us. Moving on. So I wanted to touch on something, because once again, you and I are taking more of a Pennsylvania focus today. But as we know, Pennsylvania, I always say, is a petri dish of whatever is happening nationally. If it's happening here, it's happening everywhere. And something that really is concerning me right now is what is going on at our airports, because Pittsburgh International Airport was selected as one of the 13 airports where ICE will be. And they've been there now for a few days. If anybody pays attention to anything I do, everybody knows I am very clear around where I stand with ICE, which is it should be abolished, period. End of story. Now, travelers at Pittsburgh International Airport are seeing something new. Some of them seeing this for the first time. These are their first interactions witnessing ICE. ICE agents near the security checkpoints. The move comes as federal officials try to fill gaps during a TSA staffing shortage tied to the government shutdown. Supporters say it's about keeping lines moving, but critics are saying that this is all about fear and optics. Marita, as a Pittsburgher, what was your initial reaction to the idea that ICE agents were going to be deployed and are there currently at the Pittsburgh airport, especially when we're not experiencing the long lines that the TSA is dealing with in other cities?
Frustrated. How did we get here? Especially with Pittsburgh, and especially I feel like so many of our leaders have said that, we're not cooperating with ICE. They are not welcome here. I know Governor Shapiro has been huge on that we are not supportive of this whatsoever. So how this even happened, and also it almost seems like it happened without a fight, because like you said, they're here. Yeah. They're doing it right now. But to me, how I look at United States government right now, it almost feels as if we are in an abusive relationship per se. And okay, right. Okay. Stay with me.
I'm here.
So, what they say a trait in abusive relationships, they want to isolate you. They don't want you to go anywhere. And gas prices. So, okay, flying, a lot of people are like, okay, I guess we're road tripping. This is what we're doing. Those gas prices are saying otherwise. Now we got the long wait times. Now we have ICE agents. Like, is it now, I don't feel comfortable with that. People could say, oh, that we see ICE has killed innocent bystanders, and they have, thanks to Trump, law of the land and just roaming free. So who's to say now airports are now, to me, almost like a warfare zone. So that's just having people, again, part of that fear paralyzes folks. And that's why I love you down, especially the title of this series, Facts Over Fear, because we have to be real. Yes, there's so many atrocities happening, yet we can fight back. We still have power. We just need to know and name it. So we know this is another tool point, which actually was in Project 2025. Again, people thought we were fear mongering, but it was in there to privatize TSA, like, it's in there, folks. So this is really out the playbook, but we can combat that. So right
Mhm.
now, I'm very upset about that. And, that's kind of centered me off of flying, but we cannot just give up. We have to continually have our leaders, have stakeholders, have us show up and show out that we are not accepting this. And also, TSA and other, in this case, I guess the Pittsburgh Airport Authority, making sure that there is protocol and that flying can still be deemed safe, even with those ICE agents there.
So many good things you just shared. If you're just joining me, I'm Natalie Bencavanga, and I'm chatting with Marita Garrett. She's the founder and president and CEO of Civically Inc. Marita, I couldn't agree more with everything that you just said. And I'm really glad, though, because this was something I hadn't really been thinking about too much. I'm glad you brought it into focus. There wasn't a fight. Why was there not a fight? Why? And that's a really good point, because and now that I'm thinking about that, I'm like, you're right. It was like all of a sudden, here they are. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's scary, to your point
Mhm.
about this abusive relationship. It's death by 1,000 cuts, right? It's
Mhm.
all this little normalization of the militarization of our public spaces, of the expectation of brown and black people being disappeared, and now white people too, and kidnapped
Yeah.
and taken away for many reasons, whether it was they didn't have the proper paperwork, all the way to they just didn't agree with what you said, and now you're labeled a domestic terrorist. I mean, I think this is the real concern, that we're seeing a further erosion of our rights and not as much pushback. I mean, it's like, well, everybody joking about, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer being like, well, they'll just write a strongly worded letter. And it's like,
Yes.
that's not what we need right
Right.
now. We need more than a little bit of that. And,
Right.
and it's frustrating because our very own senators here in Pennsylvania are not doing anything to support the people in this space. Dave McCormick has, of course, supported ICE really from the jump. But John
Mhm.
Fetterman now, Senator Fetterman, has also been oddly supportive in these spaces, which I find odd, considering his wife was a dreamer when she first arrived to the United States many years ago, which she has been very open and public about in sharing that. And what concerns me further is this idolization of the billionaire class as it relates to this topic, because then we have somebody like Elon Musk saying, well, I will pay for the TSA workers' salaries, like Mr. I'm suddenly a king and here's some coin.
Mhm.
And Fetterman reshared that on X and was like, this is an incredibly generous offer. And it's like, what am I missing, Rita? What am I
Yeah.
missing?
Yeah. I think we're all trying to figure that out, and I think that's also why there's literally a website called Primary Betterment,
Yeah.
because this is where we're at because, again, we look to not I'm sorry, let me take that step back. We pay
That part,
we
a
pay
living
our
wage.
elected a living wage. We pay our elected officials who even when there are shutdowns, somehow they still get paid.
Mm.
Again, so we pay them to represent our best interests, to uphold the Constitution, all of those things, but at the very minimum, to uphold our best interests. And that is, it's honestly been such a slap in the face. And I know that is why so many Pennsylvanians are so upset with the Senate leadership, but especially from Senator John Fetterman, who, was considered an ally, a leader within the working class and understood and all of those different things. And so now to support the very evils, honestly, that are setting us back, that are tearing us apart, it's honestly, it's heartbreaking. Like,
Yeah.
like, of course, we're enraged and mad, but it's just so sad because, Pennsylvanians, and again, we're speaking to more local, but
Yep.
Pennsylvanians loved and respected him so much. And, from mayor to lieutenant governor to now senator. And so it's just really unfortunate and sad to see that. And that's why, again, there's so much energy around 2028. And that's the thing is that's why no one can be put up on a pedestal, right? No one can be put up on a pedestal. And that's just unfortunately a prime example of it. But at the very minimum, this 180 that's happening amongst him and just so completely differing than what he platformed on,
Yeah.
it's so upsetting. It is so upsetting. So what does that mean? Well, one, we got to get through the midterms right now.
Yeah.
We have to get through the midterms, but also that means to make sure we're not as Pennsylvanians, and ultimately the country, because his vote affects everyone, but especially
Mm-hmm.
as Pennsylvanians in these next 2 years as we're working to primary Fetterman, it can't just be a thing like, "Oh, he's better than Fetterman," or just that. We have to make sure we're getting a strong candidate, tried and true, who's
Yep.
not gonna get sworn in and change. And, we just have to be real in that and hold folks accountable. I think you led today off with accountability and transparency. That is what we absolutely need because we cannot have 2028 and a repeat of this, and then within, 7 months of the person getting in, "Wait, what? How did that" right. I don't think anyone could have predicted this. This was not on any of my
Mm-mm.
bingo cards. This wasn't on any of
No.
this
No.
one slapped us all crazy, but now we gotta buck up,
Yep.
get real, and, make sure the next person in is really a person of their word. And also, Imma put out there, it should be a woman. It should be
Oh,
a woman. Like,
okay.
we've done let's in honor of Women's History Month, let's put it out there. It needs to be a woman.
Love that. I have a couple of names in my head. One of them is a woman who I think should
Ooh.
primary Fetterman,
Ooh.
and I'm going to share them. And then
Oh,
I want visceral, you guys, this is in real time. Marita has no idea I was going to do
I
this.
don't I have no
These are
idea, y'all.
honest reactions. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll save the woman for the last person just to build
Okay.
suspense.
Okay.
The first the first person I'm thinking of that I think could be a viable option is Connor Lamb, who ran against Fetterman the last time, lost in the primary. We are in a different place now. Thoughts on Connor Lamb?
I'm for it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
for it.
Okay.
He was good even as a congressman,
Mm-hmm.
and he's really again, he's kinda stood in the gaps with his town halls, sharing about what he would do, trying to bring it to the people, and has seemed to stay accessible. So, I'm not mad at that choice at all.
Okay. All right. 1 out of 10. What's your rank for an option?
Oof. Let's say 10 right now.
Oh,
When when we get
okay.
closer, right, we'll say
Okay. All
try to be
right.
on I'm trying to be on the safe side with
I love it.
everybody,
I love
but
it.
yes,
Love
sir.
it. 1 out of 10. She goes for 10 with Connor Lamb.
Yes.
Okay. To replace Fetterman, if you're just joining us, because I saw a couple people just showing up, Representative Malcolm Kenyatta.
See that. I
Mm-hmm,
could
mm-hmm,
see that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
What are we feeling on a scale of 1 to 10 viability option?
Viability? We'll give him a 10. Right now, there's a lot of people viable. I know, y'all call me on
I
a
love
very
this.
generous day.
No,
I know.
I love this. This is, you guys, this is visceral. She's giving it to us
This is
real in the moment. Okay.
right now.
Last person. And then if there's anyone else that you want, you can obviously throw them in the mix here as well. The woman that I'm thinking that I think could be an interesting choice because there's been so much grassroots support behind her is Representative Summer Lee. What are your thoughts?
Okay. I like that one too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Definitely. Um, definitely a 10. And this is where it's like, wait, do we how we want to be strategic, right? So she's in
Yes.
Congress. We definitely need her voice in Congress. So with her,
Mm-hmm.
if she was to go for Senate, we want to make sure we get a strong replacement in Congress. So we got to
Yes.
play chess, not checkers.
Mm.
But I'm here for that as well too. She would be formidable in that, and I'm giving her a 10 as well too.
Okay. Anybody that I missed that is on your mind that you'd like to share?
Yes.
Oh, tell us.
Yes.
Tell
I'm
us.
ready. I know if she sees this, she's probably gonna kill me. But state representative Lindsay Powell.
Oh,
I
yes. That's a
right?
good one.
Your react yes. Yes. She
Mm-hmm.
comes from all different sides. She has the ground level local policy work in her work with Mayor Peduto, then being a state also no, I'm sorry, even in the time before she was a state rep, working at Innovate Pittsburgh, behind the tech firms, AI, making sure more of us, especially
Mm-hmm.
Black women and Black men, get in those spaces. And then to her groundwork, being a state representative, also being the first Black state representative in a majority white district who still does not have an opponent and is widely received, and just how she's able to, one, work across the aisle, but bring real policy and legislation to play. Um, that's a 12 for
That's
me,
okay.
Matt.
It's a 12
That's a
out of 10,
12.
everyone.
It's a 12 out of 10.
I love it. I love this game. We should play
I
this
know.
more
The more
because,
often.
because there's a lot of cooking here. Once again,
Right.
this is just, guys, this is just preliminary thoughts and ideas because I
Yes.
think what I really appreciated as we wrap this up, I really appreciated what you just said, which is we need to be playing chess, not checkers. There needs to be a strategy. If someone's going to leave to take a different position in government, how are we then setting up a success to replace them? Because what the Republicans have done really well, you got to give it to them, is they know how to
Yeah.
play the long game. And
Yes.
I think, the left, and Marita, you and I have had these conversations offline. It's like herding cats over here. So I think we've got to figure out a little bit more. How do we strategize? And remembering too, everybody, being in community does not mean you have to agree on everything. It does not mean you have to be besties with everyone. It just means, can we get the vision of our future that we would like to see overall, out in the world in a tangible way? And really, the best way to do that, I've always felt, is to center and uplift the most vulnerable people. Because if they do well, we all will then naturally be protected and do well as well. Marita Garrett, thank you so
Absolutely.
much for being here. This was so much
Natalie
fun.
Benson-Vega, I know. We need to add this game. I like
know.
this. And I'll be texting you offline, so stay tuned.
Yes,
Right.
all the time. But you have some great stuff coming up in the coming weeks and months. Can you just quickly share with everybody what you've got going on?
Yes, because of all the things we said, it comes down to civics engagement and education, how folks need to recognize their civic power and the role of being a citizen in these United States of America. So we're excited to partner with Mon Metro Chamber of Commerce to bring the first ever regional Pittsburgh Civics Bee, which is middle schoolers, 6th to 8th grade. So it'll be at Carnegie 1 Braddock Library. So I'm excited to see the youth step up their thoughts on it. So stay tuned for that. That's happening May 7th. And then, everyone's favorite event where you get to put your spelling hat on, or your being a viewer hat on, May 14th, our 7th annual spelling bee. Natalie has been a longtime supporter,
Yes.
participant with our spelling bee. So to make it to year 7 is amazing. And we're actually going back to our roots. We're going to be at, now it's called the Maverick Hotel, but once upon a time it was the Ace Hotel. And our first two, fun fact, everyone, our first two spelling bees were held at the Ace Hotel. So we're bringing it back to there. And so stay tuned. The event, Bright, will be live next week, but really excited to kick it off and just, do all the things civic, and then civically speaking. Delayed, not denied. A new podcast just dropped this week. Our first guest was Mayor Dwan Walker of Aliquippa. So I'll, share more. I'm new to the Substack world, but I love it. I love it. So I'll be posting more. You got a new friend at Substack.
I love it.
Those are some of the things, and folks can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Civically Inc. I'm on Instagram, the Marita Garrett, LinkedIn, all of that great stuff. No TikTok yet, so don't find me on there. But we keep it elder millennial over here. So yeah,
you're doing all the things, and I'm so happy you were able to join me today, Marita. I always
thank you.
truly enjoy
It's always
your
a pleasure.
perspective. Oh my goodness,
Thank you.
you're an
Likewise.
incredible woman. So thank you,
Yeah.
and thanks to everybody for tuning in. And as always, take care of yourselves and each other. I'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks, Marita.
All right, thank you.